We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to another edition of AVRant. I'm Tom Antry, and I'm here with
Rob H. This is AVRant. It's your home theater and AV questions answered. And by the time you're hearing this, I guess the U.S. government will be back open.
We'll see.
Seems like that's moving forward. All it took was completely caving and not getting any of the things that you shut the government down for. But, well done. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, there's...
Yeah.
So
speechless.
Let's just say, not how I thought it was going to play out, but it is what it is. Since we're not talking about stuff like that anymore, let's.
Nope, that's it. That's the one and only mention I'm making.
So we did I mention last week on the podcast that my son was coming home?
I think so.
Yeah,
that might have been just to me,
did.
but I think
yeah,
I don't know.
I think I found out very close to the time of the podcast that he was going to come home for the weekend, and he had a long weekend because it's Veterans Day or whatever it is.
Yep, Remembrance Day here. Actually, as we're recording this, it's Remembrance Day / Veterans Day.
So he had a long weekend. He didn't really have a long weekend. He skipped all of his classes on Monday, and he had 3 of them, which I feel is. Whatever. He gets good grades. I'm not worried about him.
Okay, good.
So, and he's very smart. And so I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried about him. He's not exactly acing all of his classes, but he's passing, and that's good enough for college. Who cares?
It really is.
So he decided to come home for the weekend. He had a ride, and he wanted to pick some stuff up. I wanted to make sure I'm just looking behind me because he's been sleeping in his room. So this is the room I've been podcasting in before. I was sitting in front of a window because there was a big dresser against this one wall. Okay. And that dresser had gotten emptied into the closets. I hit the mic for the first time.
You moved the mic so that it would be where you're used to it and just results in you still hitting it.
Well, it would have been so much worse if it was on my right side.
It would have been worse on the other side. All right. I'll take your word for it.
Take my word for it. So the cabinet, the dresser has been empty for a while, and I wanted to get it out of here, but it is super heavy. And the only way to really move it with me and the people who live in this home regularly is to take all the drawers out and then move it and then put all the drawers back in. And I really didn't want to do that because it's a pain in the butt. These drawers do not go in and out easily. Okay. And I was just
that's the only way I would move a dresser, even if it wasn't too heavy, would be to take all the drawers out.
Well, that's not what I'm doing because I'm a man, I guess. And sometimes it doesn't have to make sense to make sense.
Fair enough.
So him and I moved it just now. Okay. Just now. And now the desk is where it's going to be. I'm going to get some lights or something, or a lamp or something.
You're definitely not optimally lit at this moment.
No, that's... Yes. Well, we have lamps in this house.
Come and see the YouTube version, folks. We're just describing why it's so worth your while. But if you want to have a true visual representation of what we're talking about.
How bad the lighting is on Tom. It is bad.
YouTube.com/AVRant. You can find all this thrilling stuff we're talking about right
now. So, but now, because he was coming home, that kind of lit a fire under me. If you remember, I complained about our handy person who set up a towel bar and a little towel hook. That's for like a hand towel hook, and then the toilet paper holder in our master bedroom. And when I walked in from after him having done that, I was like, that towel bar is crooked. It's not straight. It's not level. Not level. And I was like, I could put stuff up, not level. Why am I paying you to put stuff up, not level? So my son's coming home, and he's going to be in this bathroom, and there's no towel. Anything. There's nothing, nowhere to put anything in this thing. Plus, I took a shower in there for the first time last week just to clean it because it's just dusty from construction dust still. Honestly, that's how little that thing's been used. And I realized that the little drain plug thing that you push down to engage it and push it again to unengage it wasn't working. So I was like, I got to fix that. And anyways, so I lit a fire under me. So I did some. installations of things.
Okay. Fixtures.
Now that I have power tools, thank you, Clint.
Yeah.
Now that I have power tools, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I installed a towel bar in there and a towel hook. We didn't need a toilet paper holder, and my wife helped me. And I was like, let's make sure it's level. Let's do all this stuff. And we did all. It has like a piece of paper that you stick to the wall that you can use to
template.
Put the holes in and everything. And we measured it. Put it up there with a piece of tape in the middle. And made sure it was level, and then stretched it out and put tape on either sides to make sure that it was staying stretched out properly. And I drilled the holes in, and I put it up there, and I was like, "Yeah, so that's not level." I went back and looked at it. I was like, "So I'm going to give that guy a little slack now."
Yeah, now you know how he felt originally.
Well, first of all, I didn't pay me to do it. So let's just start there. Okay. The second, I now know what he did, because he probably did almost certainly the same thing I did, which was you put it up there, level it, and then pull the paper out and stick it down and not re-level it. So the next,
you didn't double check after the final tape. Seems like
you could. Hey, I am a measure once, cut twice, go to the store, buy another one kind of guy.
I mean, especially after where we came from with the non-level towel rack to begin with, I definitely would have.
I was very confident, Rob. I was very confident.
The final tape.
I was very confident. So anyhow,
oh goodness,
the next one I put up is very level, and I put 3 up total. So 3 total. The 2 of them were very level. The other 2, the other one is not quite, and the one he put up is not level.
2 out of 3.
And my unlevel one is less unlevel than his unlevel. Okay. That's all I gotta say.
Fair enough.
So I did all that. We did a lot of work, like getting things ready for him to come here. So we got, like, this weekend, we like all of our solid wood furniture that got flooded. My wife desperately wanted to save and try to make sure that if it was bad, we'd get rid of it. But if it's not, then we'll save it. And so that we did that this weekend as well. Went through all of our, just about all of, I think all of it, all of our wood furniture, and cleaned it all up and looked at it and did a bunch of research. And we're like, well, don't lick it. I mean, I guess that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
As long as you're not licking it, should be fine.
Wood is a porous material ultimately, so it would have been finished and shellacked and that, which
and all that stuff.
But flood water is going to get through most things. So
So we cleaned everything up, made sure it was as safe as we feel like it could be, and got rid of the stuff that we couldn't, and that we weren't comfortable with, and kept the stuff that we were. So we still need to buy a bunch of stuff. We'll put it that way.
Right.
So I did that, and we've been going through boxes. We're down to, I think there's 2 boxes in the garage.
Not too bad.
And maybe 4 or 5 boxes in the house that we need to unload, but we don't have any place to put the stuff. Almost all of it is either books or knickknacks that were all on shelves that were built-in shelves in our old house, or on other things. So all of that stuff needs to be. We need to buy something to put it on, basically.
Yeah.
So
you need new shelves.
Yeah. So we went shopping for that this last weekend and didn't find anything, because it was all either cheap and crappy or expensive and also kind of crappy.
Sounds like the state of furniture these days, all right?
Yes. It's so hard, because you're like, if I'm going to, for like a display / bookshelf, if I'm going to spend like $1,000 on it, like $1,000 on this thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be solid wood. It shouldn't be veneered, particle board, which most of these things are.
Like, they love the particle board, all right.
We're Scandinavian design place and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you are particle board. It is straight particle board all the way through. And I don't understand why you can't make, I understand for IKEA or whatever. I mean, that's cheap stuff. That's what you should get.
I mean, it's not that cheap anymore, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what we did this weekend. My son's here. He's going to leave. He's going to leave in about 45 minutes, and when he does, he's going to pop his head in here, and I'm going to go out and say goodbye. So, if that happens, just
we'll see how the timing goes, or else there might be a little bit of an edit. That's all right. We've done such things in the past.
Trying
not
very
the
hard
end of the
not
world.
to edit. Go ahead, Rob. What have you been doing this week?
So yesterday, which would have been the Monday as we're doing this, I just took an extra day off work. As you can hear, I'm still a little bit congested. I don't know if this thing is ever going to go away at this point. But yeah, since I've been doing a fair amount and I've been a little bit tired, I took a day off. But I accomplished quite a bit yesterday. It was a good extra day to have off. So yeah, got my car serviced and got more things set up for two of my aunts. It was my one of my aunt's birthdays yesterday. So it's that all went pretty well having that extra day. I needed it. It was necessary.
Oh, yeah. It was also in the 40s this morning.
Definitely not here where I am.
It was in the 40s, and my wife was like, I was going to go mow the grass at the other, because she's got the day off because she works for the government, the local government, not the federal government thing.
Right, yeah.
And she's like, she was going to go mow the grass over at the old house. And she said, no, I'm not going to do that. It's too cold. All right, whatever. I was supposed to go over there too, but instead I didn't.
I don't know if you're kind of a little far away from your mic or what all, but it's
I am not, being quiet.
It's not perfectly picking you up right now.
All right, let me just.
You're not on a condenser mic anymore, Tom. Dynamic microphone. Got to talk right down the barrel of that thing.
I don't. It's very weird. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, there's going to be considerably louder. I'll have to do a lot of compression to make sure the beginning equals the end.
Well, there's something about this mic stand, but I can't get this thing to stay tight.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts.
It does.
All right, so you did things, whatever. So what did you watch? Because I watched something finally. I watched that all last night. I binge-watched something just so I had something to talk about today.
A little tease there. We'll get to that. So I'll start with, I watched one movie this week, which was 2023's Late Night with the Devil. So this was written and directed by Cameron and Colin Cairns? Not sure how to pronounce their last name. There's no... Oh, wait, there is an R in there, yeah.
There is an R in there.
Carnes. Anyway, Cameron and Colin, written and directed by them. So this is starring David Dastmalchian. Is that how you pronounce his name? Dastmalchian?
Dastmalchian?
He was Polka Dot Man anyway. You might remember him.
Oh, that guy. Okay,
that guy, character
kind
actor, been in oodles of things. So it doesn't often get to be the lead in a lot of stuff. He's very often supporting character. Well known, done a lot of work. But yeah, he is the lead in this. This is a small, low budget film. And so, basic premise of this is it's a fictional 1970s late night talk show. He is portrayed as being, second to Johnny Carson and basically always kind of chasing Johnny Carson's ratings and audience, but never quite getting there. And there's all these sort of allusions to maybe he's part of a kind of like high dollar person elitist cult. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but it's kind of alluded to. And so we know that he's chasing after Johnny Carson's ratings. We know he might be part of this cult. You can kind of put two and two together about the sort of backdrop of what's going on here. And the idea is on 1977's Halloween broadcast, he decides to have all of his guests be people who have some spooky powers or something like that they're claiming to have. But he has this one well-known skeptic who was a former magician himself, but now dedicates his time to disproving any of these, otherworldly, supernatural types of events. And so two of the guests that are there are a woman who claims to have found a girl who was possessed by a demon, and that they've never been able to exorcise this demon from this girl, but that they have it under control now, and they can let the demon show itself on command, but then bring the girl back, and that it's all kind of under control. But she's a little bit like, we don't know whether she's playing up that she's kind of iffy about it just for, effect, or if she's actually genuinely concerned. And the whole movie kind of plays with, are we as the audience being toyed with through everything that we're seeing? What can we believe as the audience? What can't we believe? And that's sort of the whole theme of the thing. So really fun premise. I really liked the idea of sort of inverting the exorcist horror movie trope on its head, which is that normally we're seeing it from the point of view of we're accepting that in the movie the possession is real, and we're trying to see whether the exorcist can successfully exorcise this demon or not. That's the normal horror movie. In this one, because so much of it is the dialogue is from the skeptic, and because we're kind of on David, the host's side, we kind of want this demon to be real because that would get him fantastic ratings if like the skeptic could be, shut up and that you could really see a demon possession live on late night television. So it's the inversion of you're kind of hoping that the demon is real in this case. So I enjoyed that inversion. So a lot of it is fun. Which all leads me to say, I'm a little bit sorry to say that I wasn't like over the moon about this movie. I felt quite a bit of the acting was, a little bit hokey, not really the best acting across the board. David himself is very, very good as the lead, but not everybody was up to that caliber. And then I had a criticism of how this movie was told. I don't know if this was a studio note thing that happened or not, because the way the movie is shown to us, the viewing audience, is they have a narration at the beginning. It's about 10 minutes long, where they just tell you the setup. They tell you everything about this late night host. They tell you about his, chasing after Johnny Carson. They tell you about what happened between the host and his wife. And, they just flat out tell you that in narration with some, images and stuff going on. So they have something to look at, but and it's a relatively quick setup. And I didn't mind it very much when I saw it at first. But yeah, they set all that up with straight ahead narration. And then they're like, this was taken off the air, like it aired once. It aired live, so it couldn't be stopped from the audience who saw it that night live. But then the studio was like, nobody can ever see this ever again. And so, but they're like, but we found the footage and we found some behind the scenes stuff of what was going on in between. So we're presenting this to you now as not just a recreation, like we're re-showing you that night's broadcast of this late night show. And that's how we're seeing this movie. Again, so I really enjoyed that premise. So all of that being the good part, my criticism was I don't think we needed that narration at the beginning. I think if we had just jumped straight in and just been like, here's the show, and we just go drop the first 9-10 minutes of the movie, because all of the things that were told to us in the narration, they weren't said nearly as explicitly throughout the rest of the movie, but it was all in there. And I kind of would have preferred as a viewing audience member to put those pieces together myself and to have that little bit of mystery, like what happened between him and his wife, and what about all this kind of culty stuff, and because they had the little behind the scenes that were filmed in black and white segments. It's like it was all in there. We didn't need the narrator to tell us. So that made me feel like maybe it was a studio note where someone was like, no, you've got to set this up clear so that people know when it is and who these people are and what already happened, so that they won't be confused when these things are said, on the air. And I'm like, no, we could have put those together ourselves as the audience. But then, like I say, I didn't think the acting was totally up to par aside from the lead. I did enjoy Ingrid Torelli. She played the young girl who was possessed. She was effective at being creepy and strange, just a strange young girl. She did a very good job portraying that. But then the last part of it that really did honestly let the movie down was it was a small budget, and they tried to do some special effects at the end of this. Now they're trying to do it making it look as though it was a 1977 television broadcast, so it has that NTSC 4:3 aspect ratio look to the footage. It honestly, though, the special effects looked like Kung Fury. That's what it looked like. Now, the thing is, Kung Fury is kind of awesome. If you've never seen it, just go to YouTube and look up Kung Fury. Like, the special effects in Kung Fury are actually kind of awesome, but they're also, like, intentionally supposed to look a little janky at the same time. And it in that, which is a pure comedy, works to fantastic effect in Kung Fury. Here, it wasn't supposed to look janky. It was supposed to look like how a television broadcast in 1977 would have looked, and it ends up looking like Kung Fury. It ends up looking comical instead of, at that moment, it's supposed to be the actual horror of this, I don't really call it a horror movie, except the few little moments it gets, with the genre labels that the streaming services put on, they put it under horror, but that's a very tiny amount of this movie. So yeah, I'm kind of split on Late Night with the Devil. There are definitely things I appreciate about this. This is in no way a movie that I hate or say don't watch, but I saw some people who were really quite over the moon about it. I'm like, yeah, it was definitely creative in places. I give it all the credit in the world for that, but there were some parts of the production that I just don't feel were up to that same level of fit and finish. So that's where I landed on that. Did you want to do yours, or do you want me to do my second one?
Go ahead and do your second one.
All right, so I watched the first 2 episodes of Pluribus, which is all that is aired as of this recording. So this is the brand new series from Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan, the creator behind Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So this is starring Ray Seahorn. She played Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul, but this is not part of the Breaking Bad universe whatsoever, so she's a completely new character. They are still doing all of their filming in New Mexico because they have a well-established crew and fantastic relationships with the entire city and state, for that matter. So they're continuing on with that, the Vince Gilligan gang down there. But Pluribus is a brand new series, and so it's really hard to talk about this movie without giving anything away. And I don't want to give, not movie, TV series. I almost don't want to give anything away because a lot of the fun is discovering just kind of what this show even is about and what's going on. But I think it's fair to do like the basic description that you're bound to see, even if you just flick to this, series, just the splash page, or have you seen any of the trailers? So yeah, just to keep it as vague as I possibly can. Everybody that we see, all the people that we see in this show are kind of eerily happy. They're never not happy. They're just kind of always happy. And Ray Seahorn is like the only person we see. She is the lead character. She's the only person we see who is not happy. And everyone else wishes that she were happy because they're all happy, and why isn't she happy, and what can they do to make her happy? And then that gets a little bit annoying, so she gets mad at them, at which point every person that we see starts having a seizure. And so that's the very basic premise of Pluribus. And I won't give away any of that. They kind of really quickly get to kind of why and how things are the way that they are. That's not going to be the big mystery of this show whatsoever. Okay. It really is they laid the first episode is really, really good. Moves at a really nice clip. I mean, the production value that Vince Gilligan and his crew have nailed down at this point is just beyond reproach. It's fantastic filmmaking. The shot selection, the shot composition, some of it is truly, truly fantastic stuff. As so often happens in TV shows, the second episode slows down a little bit, introduces some other characters that I'm expecting will be recurring characters that we'll get to know, but it all kind of slows down a little bit to let us catch our breath. So the second episode I didn't find as thrilling as the first episode, but reviewers out there who have had advanced copies of future episodes are like, oh no, it just builds and builds and it keeps going, and I have a lot of faith in Vince Gilligan and this crew and Ray Seahorn as a lead. So I think I'm going to very much enjoy Pluribus. It's worth checking out. The I in the word Pluribus is replaced with the numeral 1. So yes, one amongst many is exactly what's being said with that title there. And definitely worth checking out if you like a little bit quirky, a little bit funny in places, a little bit very sad in places, a little bit of a mystery going on, but more of this is less of a what is actually going on and that's what I'm waiting to be revealed, as opposed to, oh, we know what's going on. It's just, what is going to happen next? Like I have no idea how to predict how this show is going to go. So that's pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's on Apple TV, by the way. Pluribus is an Apple TV exclusive.
I did look it up while you were watching because it sounds interesting, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. I am so good at watching things these days.
Right.
I watched Marvel Zombies because I'd heard lots and lots of good things about it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to check it out, and then I found out it was only 4 episodes long, and I was like, I'm just going to binge it. That means I overslept a little bit today because I stayed up late watching it. But I did watch all 4 episodes of Marvel Zombies, which apparently is going to get a season 2 because it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger. Though I don't think it needs a season 2, but it certainly they left.
I'm assuming this is Disney open. Plus, of course, right?
Of course, Disney Plus. Yeah, animated. I mean, it's clearly an alternate reality, like a different universe. Marvel.
It's a different Earth amongst the multiverse in the Marvel universe.
So this is clearly that the main character is Ms. Marvel, though she's never named as such, but she's the main character in it, and it sort of expands upon the What If episode that had the zombies in it.
Yeah.
With Scarlet Witch, of course.
Is it actually that same world, or this is a totally different world to that one too?
It's been a while since I've seen that first one,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I'm gonna say it's. Well, I'm not gonna. I don't know. I'm gonna say that it's not.
That's fair enough.
It's just set in a zombie apocalyptic place.
Okay.
Anyway, so the whole idea behind these what if episodes and stuff like that is that you get to focus on different characters that maybe didn't before. You can put some characters in different roles, which we've seen before. Where in this one, Scott Lang is the Sorcerer Supreme, I guess. They didn't really specify what he was doing, but anyways, he's wearing the cape, so he must be Sorcerer Supreme. Blade's in this, except he's more than just Blade this time, and I won't spoil anything for you.
Did they get Mahershala Ali to voice Blade, or
it sounds very much like him? It looks like him as well. So
I'm just wondering if that might end up being the only time he actually gets to play Blade out of all of that. It was announced, whatever it was, like 2018 when they announced that he was going to be Blade. So yeah.
I'll be honest with you. This series made me sad. As a whole, I was like, I was so excited for some of these characters. So the Young Avengers. I think it kind of starts off with Miss Marvel and Riri, which is, I guess, is that her name from
Ironheart?
Ironheart, right?
Yeah.
Which I haven't watched yet, but I'm gonna. That's next on my list. And Kate from
Kate Bishop.
Bishop, yes,
The new Hawkeye.
And I was very excited. I love all three of those.
I mean, we should have had a movie with all of them joined together by this point in live action, but Marvel's really dropped the ball on most of everything they've been doing. So.
Yeah, I don't quite understand what's going on.
It's
over there
very
at Marvel.
strange that they couldn't just be like, hey, what worked so fantastically during the first 10 years? Maybe we have the crew you were familiar with introduce the new crew, and then they go have a new Avengers adventure. That seems like a really simple template that would have worked fantastically well, but that's not
except
what we
that
got.
There's a bunch of trolls on the internet who get mad every time there's a different actor in the same role. It's like, ugh. Anyway, so we start off with those three characters, and I'm not going to tell you anything more than that. But I just was like, from the jump, I was like, why am I watching this animated? It makes me so mad that I'm not seeing these people actually play their characters, because I loved all their characters.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel in particular is a joy to watch.
Yeah,
like,
it's a real crime we haven't had more of her in live action. It's not right.
Her whole demeanor, everything about her is infectious.
Yeah.
Like you can sense the love of the character, the love of the genre. You can sense the love of everything.
Yeah, and I think that next time we see her in live action, she's going to be like 45 years old at this point. So
at this point,
a little bit strange.
An actor that plays Kate Bishop as well. I just loved her.
Haley Steinfeld, she's always good.
She's just amazing. So it feels like such a shame to have to watch them in this format. And so the animation is fine. If you've seen other What If stuff, it looks like that.
It's that style.
I don't think the people look very people-y. I mean, they look like, it looks like almost like if you have seen, and God help you if you're as old as me and you have, the original animated Lord of the Rings that was just actors that they drew over the top of, like The Hobbit or whatever it was. I think it was Fellowship of the Ring. It was one of those. And it was awful. It kind of feels like that whenever the people are talking to each other. I'm just like, ugh, you should just go full animation or not, because I don't know what's happening here, but I don't like it. Yeah. The overall plot is fine. It's, I'm a little sick of me personally, a little sick of like, oh, we're going to subvert the roles, and now this person is this, and this person is like, I don't care about that anymore.
Also, again, problem with Marvel, have we really established these characters well enough in everyone's minds that subverting who they are makes sense at this point? Or
especially with Blade, who was announced and we haven't seen, and now we're going to subvert his character. We didn't even meet this guy. We don't know anything about this guy. I just, the whole thing made me sort of, but as a whole, it's fine. It's only 4 episodes long. Mm-hmm. They don't give you a really enough time to care that somebody is about to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You meet characters
Plus,
you've seen
it's
before.
already an alternate version of them to begin with, so how attached are we really?
And then you're just like, oh, and then after the first kind of rounds of deaths, I'm just like, okay, so basically I can't get connected to anybody in this series because everybody's, we've got Miss Marvel, who's clearly the main character in this, so she'll be protected, but everybody else is up for grabs, is what you're telling me, right? So, I was just irritated by the end of it.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you.
All right.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
In a vacuum, not a problem. Okay.
Yes, but anybody who's watching this and going, I have to know what happened. No, you don't. No one cares. Who would care about any of these people or any of what's going on? And whatever. So is it well done? I guess it is. I guess it's told competently. I guess that in the format in which it is done, the 4 episodes, they tried to get you to care about people. They reintroduced characters that you're familiar with. They subverted some of them, and other ones are just kind of like themselves, but whatever. But in the end, I just really spent the entire time wishing that I had a
live action
Young Avengers movie. That's all I really wanted at the end of this, was a Young Avengers movie. And the fact that I didn't have that just made me mad at this whole thing. So
yeah, we're not going to be able to call them Young Avengers by the time they finally get around to it.
It's ridiculous. Like, why are we waiting so long? What's happening? What's happening over there? All right. This is AVRant, the podcast that answers your home theater and AV questions. Get your questions answered. All you have to do is ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. Come to the website where you can find our shows, our show notes, our links to any products or articles that we reference, as well as older shows. There's Flickr album as well that you can follow along with any pictures that people send us to help us answer their questions. Contact us directly, Rob at avrant.com. His socials is at First Reflect. I'm Tom at avrant.com. Did I do YouTube and all that?
I don't think so.
I know, Facebook.com/AVRant podcast, YouTube.com/AVRant.
That's right.
The Flickr album pictures will be in the YouTube video. Plus, you can see my terrible lighting, which I will fix. I swear to you, I will. There's just so much stuff that we have to do around here.
Of course.
Some things have to take a back seat, and me having decent lighting during a podcast is one of them. But now that this desk is where it's going to live, all right, that means I can start
building around it.
Around it. Because before I was definitely not going to stay there. And this room is so much nicer now. There's a bed that thing that's an unmade bed behind me.
It is
where my son was sleeping, but that's got a bed frame now. It's all much better. I want to thank our listeners of the week. To become a listener of the week, support the podcast in some way. One of the ways you can do that is going to avrant.com, click on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link, and send us a PayPal donation, or you can go to patreon.com/AVRant podcast to become one of our patrons. That's every month. Patreon will take whatever money you specify, minimum of $1 from you, and give most of it to us. So currently we have 124 patrons. We're going to thank each and every one of them.
That's right. That is, once again, patreon.com/AVRant podcast if you'd like to sign up to make an automatic monthly donation. So a big thank you to our 124 patrons over there.
All right. Let's see here. If you can't support us financially, support us in some other way. When you do that, we will mention you here. Infinite Gary sending a movie code to me?
I mean, he emailed it to me, but I forwarded it to you because it's only going to work for you. So. Okay.
I don't remember if I tested that or not, but
Tom does get emails now, by the way, Gary. Gary is still used to the whole you never used to check your Tom at AVRant email for quite some time there.
Well, yeah.
But he does now. He does now, Gary. So you can feel free to send any codes directly to Tom.
Is it Julian that's set up that document, which I can never find on my phone, but pops up every once in a while?
I am movie forgetting code now. I'd have to look up from last week.
Because he's still sending stuff.
Okay.
So, yes, there's some movie codes that were sent in for me to test. I tested out all of those, and any of them that I
didn't already have
or weren't WB for some reason.
Yes, yeah.
I thank you very much for sending those in.
Yeah, thank you, folks.
And then we've got we've got some listeners who sent us notes of thanks. So we've got Bret, who let us know that he was a member of the 2 Hour Plus Club. Infinite Gary, Mark V, Rohan, who says that many years ago it was AVRant that gave him the information and confidence to delve into home theater. So we wanted to say thanks to both of us as he prepares to take his next step forward with his new AV receiver purchase. You're welcome, Rohan. I'm sure it'll be fine. Kevin, Jorge, who heard me mention how I'd like a rug for the new home theater that just looks like a nice pattern at first, but then you look closer and it's actually a Star Wars or Star Trek design. Jorge went for exactly that sort of thing himself, so he recommends Ruggable as a good option, which is, I'm sure the ads for that place is where I got this idea. I'm not that smart.
Could be.
The exact pattern he got doesn't seem to be available anymore, but he loves it, and the rug itself is durable. It's held up really well for him so far, and it's washable, so he gives them a big thumbs up. I can't, so I'm going to get a big one. I'm not going to get a small rug. I'm getting a big rug. In fact, I'm trying to figure out if they even have a big enough rug for what the area that I want to do. Because I want it to be completely underneath the couch, I think. So the couch sits on it level. Yeah. And then I want it to go straight up to the piece of furniture that will hold the TV.
I mean, they do offer a variety of sizes, so maybe their largest is large enough. Yeah.
I can find are 6x9.
Oh, okay.
And I'm worried that that's not going to be 6 feet. It's not going to be long enough or deep enough or whatever you're going to call it. So, but I am looking at that. So thank you very much to all of you. That's Bret, Infinite Gary, Mark, Rohan, Kevin, and Jorge. Thank you for thanking us. Yeah,
that's right. I'll say the names one more time. We got Bret, Infinite Gary, Mark, Rohan, Kevin, and Jorge. Thank you so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. And a big, big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
In the news, YouTube TV and Disney got into a carriage dispute. That's because it turned back into a pumpkin.
That must be it. I mean, it kind of was. There was a deadline after which things changed, so it's not completely off.
This is nothing new for live TV providers once the contract term is up, which happened on October 31st for all Disney-owned TV channels on YouTube TV. We've often witnessed TV channels going off the air for some period of time until the studios and the broadcaster can come to a new agreement. This time, the tactics for trying to pressure one another into a new agreement seem to have been taken to a new level. Not only did all Disney-owned TV channels, including ESPN, ABC, Nat Geo, FX, and many others, become unavailable via YouTube TV after October 31st, but the disagreement spilled over into streaming platforms as well. Disney and Fox movies suddenly vanished from Google's movie stores, and not just in the USA, but worldwide. You could still access Disney and Fox movies you had already purchased, but you couldn't add any new Disney or Fox titles to your library. And searching for Disney and Fox titles just resulted in a screen saying, video unavailable. Yeah. It isn't actually clear, though, whether it was Disney or Google that removed all of the movies. And then Google stopped participating in Movies Anywhere again. Anything you had already purchased is still available to you, but if you buy a movie in Google's online store, and there's no option to add it to Movies Anywhere anymore. So, and if you buy a movie from Amazon, Apple, Fandango, or any other service that participates in Movies Anywhere, you can no longer add it to your Google Movies library afterward. I will let you comment on this, and then I want to rant about Google for a second. So go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a ton to say other than, it feels petty. This always feels petty every time. But when it was just limited to, hey, this is a television studio. They have to have a contract in place with the various broadcasters. The agreement comes up. They haven't formulated a new contract before that time. So yeah, there's a period of time, and usually it doesn't go on that long. Because the broadcasters are well aware that, hey, if we don't have one of the major broadcast networks like ABC, they are going to hear it from their customers. ESPN is a gigantic one that gives Disney a ton of leverage when they're doing these things. But at the same time, the TV studios are saying, hey, we want this amount of money for you to have the rights to rebroadcast our incredibly popular, supremely worthwhile content. Your service is worth nothing without us, so pay us all the money in the world. And yeah, we get these stupid carriage disputes. But to have this, fall over into not just YouTube TV, not just a live TV broadcast thing anymore, but into the streaming platforms. I mean, there's some people have speculated that maybe this is purely coincidental and not actually cause and effect, but I mean, there isn't an agreement in terms of how long Disney movies are available in the Google Play Store. That wasn't part of this. And the fact that it happened that day when this carriage dispute took place. And it seems like, Disney are the ones who are like, hey, not only are, you're not going to have ABC and ESPN and FX and all the Fox stations as well, since Disney owns a bunch of those, like not having those on your live channel anymore, you're not going to have our movies in your Google Play Store anymore. Either. That's again, speculation as to which side actually pulled those things away. But then, Google coming back. And I mean, Movies Anywhere is still working on the platform that used to be Disney Movies Anywhere. Because, a bunch of the studios got together later and just created Movies Anywhere, but it was all on the Disney platform. So they're kind of still the ones running that side of the industry behind the scenes. So Google comes along and is like, okay, so, Disney movies aren't on our Play Store anymore. So now if you buy something through our store, you don't get to populate that on other services. Or if you buy it on other services, you don't get to have it on our service unless you pay us individually for it. So although you can't for Disney movies because they don't exist on the Google Play Store anymore. So yes, it all just seems petty. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, so I was watching somebody talk about the history of Google and how Google got so popular with their search engine, and then with what Google ended up having to do to start making money with it, and the fact that we went from we're popular because we're good at it. If those who don't remember Dogpile and Alta Vista, and, all those
Yahoo
other
even Yahoo.
And Google came along and just absolutely crushed them because they were so much better than everything else.
It was the thing of when you searched for something, Google did a pretty good job of on that very first page, if not the very first result, on that very first page, you really did find something relevant to what you were searching for. Whereas every other search engine, it was like, if I ever find a relevant result, it might be on page 10 of these things. Right. And it took a long time, and Google just saved you time when it came out, and everybody instantly loved them, and it was obvious why they were a success.
And then they sort of like, well, we got to make money on this thing. How are we going to do that? Well, we have to be worse. What we're doing, we have to basically be worse. And I feel like that has been consistently what I've experienced with products over time.
Definitely been getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
And I don't want to be this get off my lawn kind of guy, but I do remember when Google was literally there was nothing on the page other than the results. And then they started putting ads on the side. I was like, that's great. Put them over there where I don't have to deal with them. Yeah. And now it's like, I can't even get to what I'm looking for anymore. Yeah. I have to scroll past so much AI and suggested results, which are just more AI, but in a collapsed menu. It's just, and that's what I feel like happens with all of these kinds of services where they're like, we need to build something that works, that people will use, and they do. And they're like, great. Now how can we make money with it? All right, make it work less. And this is where we're at here, And I am very sick about being right. And that's not like we're so intelligent over here at AVRant, but
no,
it's just been a constant us saying, hey, you can buy your stuff from wherever you want, but the reality is it's all going to be gone eventually. No matter if you're going to buy a digital copy of something and you can't download it, it's going to be gone someday. And ta-da, because believe me, step 2 after you can't buy new stuff from us is remember the stuff you did buy? Yeah, you don't have that anymore either. So, sorry,
I guess. It is just a long-term rental. You do not actually own any of that.
All right. Also in the news, Rob is being forced to make another irresponsible purchase.
Yes, sounds like Rob. There's really no way that I can escape this. It's being thrust upon me.
Lego will be releasing their first Star Trek branded set, and it's a 3,600 piece USS Enterprise D from Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's priced at $400. Good luck getting one, Rob. First of all, scalpers are going to get it. Scalpers.
It is going to be difficult, but I am forced to try.
$400 USD. It's United States freedom dollars. You forgot the F in that. But to make it even more irresistible to Rob, the Canadian price is only $490 Canadian freedom dollars. You've got the F on that one too. That's way less than the currency conversion rate. On top of that, it comes with 9 minifigurines or figurines.
Lego minifigures. That's the official name of them. Yes.
Pretty much the whole main crew, and if you get one of the earliest pre-orders, they're including a separate Type 15 shuttle pod set that includes Ensign Row. Pre-orders began at 12 a.m. Eastern Time on Black Friday, so wish Rob luck on getting his pre-order in successfully. Rob, come on, man. Are you even going to open it? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to open and build this. Yeah, this is not a stay in the box if I manage to get one of these. I'm going to be very disappointed if I don't get that shuttle with Ensign Row. I enjoyed Ensign Row very much, and I want that pre-order gift. It's the only way to get it. There's no other way to get that shuttle and that figure. But right. $490 really wasn't budgeting for that, but it's the Enterprise D in Lego form, man. I can't not buy that. It's a necessity.
You can't. You 1,000,000% can.
Nope. Can't be done.
All right. Questions here. Patrick is using a speaker system that includes monoprice monolith THX 365, three-way bookshelf, front, left, right, center, whatever. Front, left, right, and center with the monolith THX 265 two-way bookshelf surrounds. He's using a Marantz AV7705 Pre-Pro and a 5-channel Marantz MM 7055. That's over 20 years old now. Mm-hmm. He's never had any problems until a few weeks ago. He was watching The Sound of Music via streaming on Disney Plus, and he was using his Roku 4K. Well, that's the problem right there. Is the Roku, clearly.
We never know. It's not impossible there was an issue with it.
I have no idea what this problem is yet, though, by the way. I haven't read this. I did read it. I just didn't
retain it.
Didn't retain it. Yeah, that's
gotcha.
what I was looking for. He noticed that at certain high frequencies, mostly during the songs, but also during some of the dialogue, there was a strong audible distortion. At first, he only heard it coming from his center speaker, but then it started coming from his front right speaker as well. None of the other speakers seemed to have the problem. He carried on with the movie anyway, no pauses or changes to anything, and during the last 20 minutes of the movie, all of the loud, high-frequency distortion completely went away. How can he troubleshoot to find this culprit? He's wondering if his 5-channel amp is starting to give up the ghost. It's definitely the oldest component in his system, but should he be measuring with Room EQ Wizard or something? Could the distortion have been coming from his Pre-Pro or his Roku or something else? This is the only movie it happened with?
I mean, it's the only one he described in his email, so that's all the information I'm privy to at this very moment.
Sure. Step 1 is play literally anything else and see if it happens. Step 2 is if it has happened, if it happens again in something else that you play, or then yes, you could play some sweeps. And you don't need Room EQ Wizard. You just need to listen. If you get to the sweep and it gets all distorted at the top, okay, there's a problem there. But even if it doesn't distort during other content, you could still do the sweep thing just to see. But my guess is it's just something to do with the stream itself. It could have been. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, obviously the first thing I'm assuming you've watched other things since then. If it's never happened again, my assumption would be it's that particular movie on that particular service that there was just an issue. The thing you could try is, hey, if that's the only thing where I've ever noticed it, go back and watch it again. If it happens again during that very same movie from that very same service on your Roku, it's like, well, at the same parts of the movie too.
At the same parts of the movie too, because it wasn't even throughout the entirety of the movie. So that then we'll have a pretty good idea that it's just whatever file they've got on whatever server you're pulling from. It's really just that, and there's nothing wrong with your system. But if that isn't the case, if you are hearing this same type of distortion coming in and out, not constant, happens once in a while, with completely other content, yes, I would try a different source device, right? The thing you got to do, troubleshooting 101 is you have to isolate your variables, right? You have to change one thing at a time, not multiple things at a time, or else you're never going to be able to determine what the actual culprit is. So if with this same signal chain, but a different movie playing, you'd still have that distortion happen, then I would try using a different source device. Maybe that's the built-in apps on the TV itself that you have. If you have some other streaming device, or from your phone or from your computer, there's a way to cast it to virtually any TV or to the Roku device. So once you're using a different source device, if it doesn't happen there, but it does happen with the Roku, well, now we've isolated. Okay, because it could be the HDMI output port on that particular Roku 4K that you're using. It's, I don't know exactly why that would happen, but it's not completely out of the question. And then, I would probably go hardware-wise, right? One thing at a time to try and find, okay, once I've replaced one piece of hardware in this signal chain, not multiple pieces at the same time, one at a time. If it's always happening, no matter which pieces of hardware upstream, now I'd look at the speakers themselves, because it's not completely out of the question that one of the tweeters in one of you said it was basically only the center speaker, then it sort of started sounding in the front right speaker, but none of the other three speakers that you own. It's like, I would isolate that one speaker at a time. You can do that by physically disconnecting your center speaker, say, and then plugging your front left speaker wires into that center speaker, because you know that your front left speaker has been working fine this whole time. So we know that apparently there was no problem with the source device, the preamplifier, the amplifier, or that front left speaker, or the front left speaker wire. All of that was working perfectly fine the entire time. If you then plug that full signal chain into the center speaker, and the center speaker doesn't make any noises, well, then you're like, okay, it was something going on in that signal chain. But if the center speaker still makes the distortion noise that it made before, you're like, oh, it's the speaker. The speaker has a problem. And it could be a damaged tweeter, or even something just came loose, or a loose driver or something like that. The likelihood to me that this is your amplifier, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it doesn't jump out to me as the most likely culprit. Honestly, the thing that jumps out as the most likely culprit is the movie stream itself.
Yeah, that's the first one I would think
from the way that it was described. But if you've been listening to lots of things and lots of things are having distortion, then it really is a matter of you have to isolate. You have to change one thing at a time only. I mean, is there a preference? Where you would say, like, I would strongly recommend actually starting by testing the speakers, or starting by testing the source? So you're going to go through that signal chain in one direction or the other, either way. So,
the first thing I would do is like you said, check the stream itself just by watching something else on that same Roku, and if it doesn't ever pop up again, just like, okay. I mean, I have watched. I've streamed like the first episode. I want to say it's of like Suits, or one of those, where the very first episode was mono out of like the right channel or something like that. It was like I was losing my mind trying to figure out what was going on with this thing, and I could not figure it out. And I just went, well, what's the next episode like? And it was fine. I'm like, okay, first episode's encoded real stupid, and then went on with my life, and I never had that problem again. But that can happen with a stream, because they just provided those streams. That would be my first guess. But the second thing I would do is take the Roku out of the equation and try to figure out.
That's probably the second easiest thing, is change the source device. I mean, the problem is that because people want to get to the answer as quickly as possible, it's very tempting, and most people that I know, they change more than one thing at a time. And that is it's self-defeating because you're never going to be able to nail down what really caused it unless you go one at a time. So troubleshooting requires discipline, and it requires patience.
Especially
that's not
with HDMI. I mean, especially with HDMI.
Yeah. That's not the easiest thing to convince people to take on, but it is the only way you're going to be able to isolate this. And I promise you, it's worth it in terms of if you care about the out-of-pocket dollar expense. Because if we just said, hey, why don't you try buying a new 5-channel amplifier and putting that in?
See if that fixes it.
If that definitely was not the cause, that's a whole lot of money that you've just wasted to not fix this issue. I mean, again, as we're so often doing, reading between the lines, maybe he's just kind of eager to buy a new amplifier at this point, but it's like if there's something in your system that does need to be replaced, I mean, hey, hold on to the money and do the troubleshooting and find out if there's some other part of your system that needs to be replaced first to fix this problem, which, like I say, it might be that you actually do need to at least get a speaker repaired or something like that, but that's going to cost something.
It could just be a weird speaker wire situation.
It absolutely could be.
And that's... we've seen that happen 1,000 times.
The other thing we haven't mentioned, though, is he said it was high frequency distortion.
Yeah.
Which, could that be some form of wireless interference? Because it came and it went away during the same movie. And it's like, I don't know, is there like your neighbor got a new high-powered microwave dish or something and it was pointing it at your house, like.
I mean, we used to have that problem in our kitchen where every time we would run our microwave, because I had an Echo Dot that was connected to a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah,
that was kind of far away, and in between near the Echo Dot was a microwave.
Yeah.
Well, we moved the microwave, and all of a sudden we didn't have any problems anymore.
Right.
And, every time we, it's weird that you don't make those connections, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
That it's just like this happened literally. Was it last night? I think. I went to go open the garage door and wouldn't open. I'm like, oh, this thing's not working. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Right? I look at it, I'm like, huh. And then I open like this little panel and there's 2 batteries in there. I thought it was hardwired. Mm-hmm. So I open the panel, I see there's 2 batteries in there, I replace the batteries and it works. Right? I was like, oh, okay. So the little glowy circle that you would press on to make the garage door go up and down had turned red a while ago, and I was always wondering why it was red. Like,
low
hey, guess
battery
what?
Signal.
Maybe that means the battery is going bad. You idiot! I'm like, I've never used this thing before. I just moved into this house, And
right.
as far as if somebody had asked me about that garage door opener, I said it's brand new. Well, it's brand new to me. It's been sitting there for however many years with those same 2, AAA batteries in it. Yeah, okay. New to me and new are not the same thing. So the fact that you have got this 20-year-old amp, you're looking at it like you're probably the problem. I would venture to say that that would be the last thing I would.
It's pretty darn close on my list. On my list, I'm like, that's like close. Again, not impossible. It's not utterly impossible. But but yeah, it would be pretty far down on my test scenarios.
I mean, in most of the times, I would think the problem would be to take like some compressed air and just blow it out, and then you fixed it immediately. Yep. That's all it's going to take. So,
but even if this is a wireless interference thing, all the more reason to do the thorough troubleshooting procedures, because if this is wireless interference, it's going to show up, during the testing of something that is good. You're going to be like, hey, I've already eliminated this thing as the potential problem, and then this noise randomly showed up again, and it's going to be like, oh, maybe this is a wireless interference issue.
Yeah. Adam says, what do we recommend for a 4-in, 1-out HDMI KVM multi-view switch that will output to a single 3840 by 2160 resolution display at 60 hertz? Well, that's a very general question. I mean, how can we possibly answer that?
KVM is a keyboard video mouse. So this is the type of device where you have a single keyboard, you have a single mouse. Those plug into the USB inputs of this switch. And then you have, in this case, since he wants 4-in, 1-out, up to as many as 4 separate computer devices. But once those are plugged into this switch, you can toggle between which of those computers you are actively using at any moment. All 4 computers stay on at all times, but you can toggle between which one it is that you're using at a given moment, and that very same keyboard and mouse will be able to control all of those computers. And then any one of those 4 computers' video output can be shown on your single monitor, or in this case, since he wants multi-view, he wants to be able to have more than one computer's video on a single monitor, and then you'd still be switching around with your keyboard and mouse as to which of those computers you are actively using at any given time. So
I did not know even such a thing existed, but
that's right. Yeah.
It's a very, very specific thing. Anyways, he wants to be able to input 2 Mac computers with each of them outputting a custom 1920 by 2160 resolution at 60 hertz. So the 2 images will be side by side, and he doesn't want there to be any stretching or scaling of those 2 images. Now, since I clearly am the right person to answer this question, I am going to go. My son's about to leave, I believe. Yeah. So I'm going to go out there and say goodbye to him and grab some more ice and all of that. So
I'll talk for a little bit in your absence.
Rob will soldier on alone. So
that's
guys
right.
Have fun.
Yeah. So the thing to be aware of, so the ones I'm going to mention, because I do know that Adam is not typically looking for like multi-$1,000 solutions for these sorts of things. Price is a factor, and he's looking to keep the price, reasonable to mere mortals and that. And there are devices, I'm going to mention 2 of them in particular, that can essentially do everything you're asking for. The caveat to all of that is, I understand that he's creating a custom output resolution, right? So normally if you had 2160 as your vertical resolution, normally the standard is that it would be 16:9 ratio, so it'd be 3840 by 2160, or what we typically just call 4K resolution. He is manually setting his two Mac computers to output 1920, so half the horizontal resolution by 2160. So he's like, okay, I have already set my computers to output like kind of tall rectangular images. Therefore, if I put two of those side by side on a single monitor, that'll create 3840 by 2160. No scaling, no pixels lost, because he's natively outputting the tall rectangle resolution, manually adjusting the computers to do that. So with both of the multi-view KVM switches that I'm going to mention, they both offer a side-by-side view, so you can choose any of the four HDMI inputs and say, put those two video outputs side by side on my single monitor, and that's the images that I want to see. Now, they automatically scale those images. They'll take the regular 16:9 aspect ratio and they'll squish them horizontally, so everything looks tall and skinny if you were natively outputting a regular 16:9 image. So both of those images would automatically get scaled, squished horizontally, so that they can fit side by side without you losing any of the image. They're not cropping it off, they're just scaling them and squishing them. So the issue here is that I can't guarantee that there's not going to be any pixel manipulation whatsoever. If you're outputting a native 1920 by 2160 from those two Macs, I'm just not sure. Like, I don't have the personal firsthand experience to know whether they're going to completely just pass that through, because ultimately what they're doing is creating two 1920 by 2160 images themselves. So if that's already what's being input, I'm not sure if they're going to do any pixel manipulation on it or not. I know they can give you the two images side by side. I know they can do everything else that you were asking for here, but whether there's going to be any pixel manipulation of those two images, I just can't guarantee. So without further any ado on that, the first brand I always think of that is reasonably priced but has these sorts of components available is from O-Ray. That's O-R-E-I. Their UKM401MV, the MV standing for multi-view, because they have another version of this, which is an extender, right? It'll piece together the images together. This one, though, is the multi-view, where you can have different ones side by side. So the regular price on that is $220. Not completely ridiculous. They're actually offering a coupon if you buy it from Amazon right now, where that price comes down to $208. So that's a pretty reasonable solution. You'll notice that what you have on the back here, you got 4 HDMI inputs, and those are 18 gigabits a second. So they can accept up to 4K resolution at 60 hertz, which is what he asked for, but these aren't going to do 4K 120. And then each of them has a USB Type B input on there, which you do have to connect a USB cable to each computer so that they can share the USB mouse and the USB keyboard that you're going to plug in. Now, the O-Ray one comes with good instructions. They actually have a full video on how to hook everything up and do what you want to do here. It's really quite clear with O-Ray, but like I say, price is $220 regularly, with a coupon right now for $208. If that price is too high, there is an alternative that I found from a brand that looks like one of these ones that just jumbled together a bunch of letters, but at least they included some vowels, so maybe it's pronounceable, which is Parasol, P-E-R-E-S-A-L. But anyway, this is a 4-in, 1-out HDMI KVM switch, only $90, and they have a promo code right now to bring that price down to $67.50. So very, very affordable, to the point that, hey, maybe you just give a little bit of a flyer on this thing and give it a try. This one, instead of being USB Type B for each of the computers that you connect, it's USB Type C. So that's just something to be aware of. Both of them, actually, the O-Ray and this Parasol one, include the USB cables so that you'll have the correct input on one side and then just USB-A on the other in both cases. Now, with this Parasol one, there's a little bit of a caveat. With the O-Ray, you can choose whether what you want to have happen is to have your mouse bound within whatever computer's screen that you're working on right now. So if I had all four on screen, it could be like, oh, the mouse only moves within whichever one I've chosen as my active computer. Or you can choose to have the mouse go across all four screens on that one monitor, and then you can actually click on whichever one you want, and the keyboard and the audio will automatically switch to whichever one you clicked on. But that choice is there for you with the O-Ray. When you use the Parasol one, it's entirely dependent on which USB port you plug the mouse into. One of the ports is bound to whichever computer is active, and typically you'd plug your keyboard into that. The other USB port gives you the unbound mouse, no matter what. No matter what you plug into that USB, the second USB port, it's unbound and not tethered to just the active computer. So if you really don't want that, then there's a little bit less option with the Parasol one. But yeah, one of those two I think is worth at the very least giving a try. But like I say, I just can't guarantee that there will be no pixel manipulation whatsoever.
Perfect timing. My son's ride just arrived.
Okay.
So that was good. That worked out. Are there any TVs with a screen size between 42 and 55 inches that can natively support 4K resolution at 120 hertz input and display, but cost under $350?
So not current and brand new that I could find. That's the short answer. Now, of course, if you're looking used, if you're looking at models from 1 or 2 years ago that you might be able to find on clearance or something like that. I mean, I have not scoured the internet to find every possible deal that's out there. So entirely possible that you find an older discontinued model that is still available to purchase that could do this. But if you're talking about current models that are available brand new, about the least expensive I could find is around $500. Because in TCL's lineup, you've got to get up to the QM6 series. So the QM6K right now is $500. The smallest that series comes in is 55 inches. And then similarly over at Hisense, their U7 series is about the least expensive they make. That does 4K 120, both inputs and outputs. And similarly, the smallest size they make in the U7 series is 55 inches, and it's $500. So in terms of current and brand new, $500 is about the least expensive I could find. If you need to get that price at $350, you're just going to have to look at older model years, discontinued ones. But similarly, I'd look at TCL and Hisense first. They're going to be your best bet for finding something that isn't too expensive, that actually does genuinely support 4K 120, both input and display.
So what about the latest Roku Pro Series TVs, the smallest of which is 55 inches? They're currently priced above $350.
They sure are.
But they prominently mention their 120 hertz refresh rate. Does that mean that they include HDMI 2.1 inputs and that can accept 4K 120 signals?
Yes, and I don't mind at all that he asked this because, oh my goodness, is that information difficult to find? It's like it's not anywhere on the web page for these. It's you can never trust Best Buy's listed specs or Amazon's listed specs. Those are often incorrect. Like Rtings has not done a review of this series yet. They did last year's version, the 2024 version, but not the 2025 version that Adam linked to. So yeah, it was a challenge to find this information, but I did track it down. I did find a review that mentions it, and yes, it does. Those are actually HDMI 2.1 inputs on the 2025 Roku Pro Series TVs that can actually accept a 4K 120 signal. The thing is, there's only two of them. There's only two of those HDMI 2.1 inputs. That's not that rare on TVs these days, but yeah, it is only two, and 55 inches is smaller, and it's I think that one is $550 right now. So at the moment, the TCL and the Hisense have them beat on price.
There you go. Yeah. Bret. Now, this house, Bret, has a 77-inch LG C1 OLED. I used to have a 77-inch LG C series OLED as well.
You did.
With a Marantz SR6011 receiver and a
no, you had an 83. We got to get that right. You used to have an 83.
Did I have an 83?
You had an 83 back in the day.
That makes me even sadder. Shut up.
It is even sadder.
And a 5.2, technically 3.2.2, the way he has to configure its speaker setup. He's also got a PS5 Pro, and the Marantz SR6011 is old enough that it cannot pass through the full video capabilities of that console. He's going to be away from his house for the next 4 months, though. He will be renting an apartment for that time. He's already talked to the landlord about adding some curtains so that he can darken the room where he'll set up his TV. So those are being installed this weekend. As a more as a more transportable system, he's bought an LG OLED TV, brought an LG OLED TV along with a pair of self-powered Peachtree M24 speakers plus a Focal Cub 3 sub. The Peachtree speakers can connect wireless via Bluetooth to the LG OLED, and it actually works really well that way. But he simply cannot leave well enough alone, so when RSL posted they had more Speedwoofer 10S Mark II subwoofers back in stock, he quickly ordered 2 of them to be delivered to the apartment. He mainly wants them for his house when he gets back. But why not enjoy them while he's away in the apartment, right? Well,
yeah.
I mean, they're neighbors, maybe. Might be a reason. And since he would now like to have full room correction and dual subwoofer calibration, he's thinking maybe he could just justify getting a new receiver. Now, this guy's got money to burn. He was initially thinking he should get something small and compact just for the apartment, but it seems as though any of the 2-channel units that include EQ require you to manually enter the values, and he doesn't have any interest in measuring with Room EQ Wizard himself. He really only is interested in an automated setup. And then the 2-channel units include Dirac cost just as much as a whole AV receiver anyway. So he's been eyeing an upgrade to his Marantz. Doesn't it just make sense to go ahead and buy the new AV receiver now? What do we think? I think that nothing in this world is going to stop you. So therefore, you should just do what you want to do.
Yeah, like if this apartment is like physically large enough that you're like, yeah, I can fit 2 Speedwoofer 10S Mark IIs in here, which, by the way, are nicely sized subs. They're like my favorite for right around $500 and kind of similar to a lot of sealed subs, but they are actually a slot ported design. Like, I love those subs, so they're not overly sized, but still, in many apartment settings, even those subs would be a little bit of a challenge to set up. But if that's not a problem, I don't really see why an AV receiver would be a problem in this apartment. There's going to be some place that you can physically put that in here. Right. And then it can live in your full-sized home theater once you finally get back home.
So, and if we agree that he should buy a new AV receiver, we don't necessarily agree with that. We just agree that you're going to do it.
Yeah, like it's not a I'm going to talk you out of it situation.
Yeah. So, yes. So since you are going to get...
There seemed to be a pretty clear leaning in the wording of his email. This did not sound like someone who was like, please convince me that I need to buy an AV receiver. It was definitely the other way around.
So which one should he get? And I can tell you that if you're going to go Denon or Marantz, I'm going to say Denon, and I'm going to say the 3800 because that's the one that we constantly recommend right now because it is the tipping point between the doesn't have as good an Odyssey and all the stuff and has the better Odyssey and all the stuff. So the 3800, if you're going to stay in that ecosystem, that's the one I'm going to go with. Yeah,
I mean, the X3800 definitely has more speaker processing and outputs than you physically need for your current speaker setup. Yeah. But if you want the multi-subwoofer calibration, if you want to stick with XT32, because your SR6011 already had XT32, and if you don't want to downgrade from that, then it's going to be the Denon X3800H. Now, the link that we'll provide in the show notes is going to be from Accessories for Less, because that is definitely the way to get it at a lower price, but still be very confident in the quality that you're getting, because that is refurbished directly from Denon, and you still get a warranty with it, and it's not the 2-week or 30-day type of thing that you get from other places that we love recommending that you buy your AV receivers from there. So $1,300 is the going price right now at Accessories for Less. It's $1,700 brand new, so you're saving $400 there. That's not an insignificant amount of money. If someone said, is there anything that costs a little less than that, I certainly wouldn't think that it's an inappropriate question to ask. So you could have a look at an Onkyo receiver. Again, I'm going to link to available from Accessories for Less because the price savings are significant on the Onkyos over there. And you might have heard me say in the past that I've been recommending that TXNR 7100, which is a 9-channel AV receiver. It can power 9 speakers. It must power them itself because the NR7100 does not have any pre-outs, and it stops at 9. There's no way of upgrading it to 11 in the future. It's available for $750 from Accessories for Less, but I'm going to say, in this instance, that because it is only $50 more at Accessories for Less, $800, I think you should definitely have a look at the TX RZ30. Because the RZ30 is essentially the replacement for the NR7100. The NR7100 is a little bit older at this point, and the RZ30 came out just this past year. It is still limited to 9. So 9 speakers. There's no way of upgrading the RZ30 to 11, but you're at 5 right now. So I think you're going to be okay with 9. And the RZ30 does have a full set of pre-outs if you ever wanted to add an amplifier in the future. It also has the dual independent subwoofer outputs. The NR7100 does not. So if you wanted to upgrade to Dirac Live bass control, the RZ30 lets you do that. The NR7100 does not. Both of them come with Dirac Live room correction built in, but the RZ30 has the option of, you do have to pay extra, but you can add Dirac Live bass control to the RZ30. You can't add it to the NR7100. So for a $50 difference in price, if you're going to get an Onkyo, I'd say get the RZ30.
Yeah, I'm good with... I tell you what, if it were me, I'd have the Onkyo RZ30 on the way.
Like, that's already a $500 price difference. That's a lot
difference in price. Yeah. It would be on the way. You can practically justify buying all the Dirac crap with the amount of money that you're going to save.
Yeah,
between
the only reason,
and I love Denon.
The only reason you really wouldn't get that is if you're like, oh, I know I'm going to upgrade to 11 speakers at some point. Because the Denon X3800H can do 11 speakers. It can power 9 itself, but it can be upgraded with the addition of at least a 2-channel external amplifier to do an 11-speaker configuration. Like I say, the Onkyo, the RZ30, and the NR7100, they stop at 9, full stop. Yeah. But yeah, unless you know you're going to go to 11.
All right, Sasi. So I expect to go with sealed subwoofers from SVS for my new theater, right? Mm-hmm. I do. I don't necessarily think they have to be from SVS. I just think that they're going to be from SVS. Yes. I mean, if somebody said, "Oh, there's this other company and they're making these and they're cheaper and they're smaller and they're louder or whatever," I would do it. So and when I mentioned either a pair of SB 1000 Pros or SB 2000 Pro, Rob immediately jumped in and said SB 2000 Pros.
I did.
Okay, he did. Yeah. Sounds like something Rob would do. But SVS is currently running a sale on some of their models. SB 1000 Pros are down to $600 each, and the 3000s are down to $1,000 each. So the SB 2000 Pros are $900 each. No sale price on those right now. And just for comparison, the 2000 Pro cylinders are currently at $110 each.
Or 1,100 each even.
1,100 each. Sorry, not 110. 1,100 each. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't it make the most sense to either go with the least expensive SB 1000 Pros or upgrade all the way to the 3000s right now? Only $100 more each than the 2000 Pros, Tom. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are, I wasn't even sure I was going to go to it. First of all, by spending even $100 on a bigger sub that does you nothing is $100 you threw down the toilet, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care that those subs, are more capable and that I can move them to a different room or whatever. I'm not going to move them to a different room. I think I've proven that. And if I do move them to a different room, there's no guarantee that it'll fit that different room. Mm-hmm. No matter if they're 2,000, 3,000s, or 4,000s. Who knows?
But I mean, we just talked about in the last question. What about those speed woofers? I mean, that should be a consideration for you. Speedwoofer 10S Mark II? They're $500 each. They're less than the SB 1000 Pros on sale, and they're akin in output to at least an SB 2000 Pro, pretty darn close to an SB 3000. So,
I would definitely consider them. Definitely. In fact, after the podcast is over, Rob and I will have a discussion about whether or not I should jump on them or not, because I honestly don't care. It's all about performance, whether or not I get the performance I want. And don't talk to me about DSPs and being able to have its own EQ. I don't care.
Okay.
I do not care about that because I'm not going to adjust it. I know I'm not. I've had every sub I've ever had has had some sort of parametric EQ that was involved in it in some form. And I've had access to other forms of parametric EQ and I've never adjusted them. I'm not going to start now. It's going to be about footprint and output and, and performance. So if it gets loud enough and I'll take the smallest, cheapest one. Thank you.
Pretty hard to beat
just
speed
the
woofers.
Cheapest one.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to do that. It's like, well, you could spend only $1,000 more, and you can get a car with the same car but with a supercharger on it. Am I ever going to use that supercharger? No. Okay, I'm out.
I mean, for the same price, Tom could get 4 Speedwoofer 10S Mark IIs instead of getting 2 SB 3000s on sale. So
that's right.
You got to
just stack 2 of them on top of each other.
You could
be done with it. Infinite Gary. So disc players are supposed to all look the same, right? Yes, they should. Yeah.
If they're acting as a get the bits off the disc and get it into your player, which get into your display, which would technically be a disc transport, because a player is something that has the ability to do some processing in it, whereas a transport is just read the disc and give me the bits, which is very often what I would prefer.
Yes.
I like the idea of a transport.
So, as we know, he's still using his 1080p Runco projector, so this isn't about any sort of 4K upscaling or anything like that, no HDR either. He's been using his Denon DVD A1 Universal Blu-ray player and his Oppo UDP203 Ultra HD Blu-ray player with a 1080p Blu-ray disc of Hunter Killer. As a test subject, both players look good and basically equal on his projector. But then, while he was doing some fall cleaning in his basement, he came across a Pioneer BDP 41FD Blu-ray player that he'd completely forgotten about.
I love it. I feel you, Gary. That happens to me, man. I'm like, oh yeah, here's a thing I own. Like, I own it.
This is what's going to happen. Someday I'm going to go to Canada. You guys have the same power we have? You have the same power, right? Outlets and all that stuff.
No difference.
On myself. Yeah, I'm going to come home with a stack of crap. That Rob's like, oh, look who's in this closet. You want any of this stuff? I'm just like, yep, let's just.
I wouldn't count on that, Tom. I'm not one for much of the giving away or even the selling, which I really ought to do. But it all just builds up.
You should. Anyways, where am I? He came across a Pioneer BDP 41FD Blu-ray player that he had completely forgotten about. It was sitting on top of an old JVC-D VHS player in his basement for what that is worth. It's not worth much. I mean, actually, you'll probably sell the VHS player for a lot more than the Pioneer.
That still works.
Yeah. Naturally, he hooked it up, and to his surprise, Hunter Killer looked sharper. He noticed it right away. So can we explain what it is about the Pioneer's player design that might be responsible for the 1080p image looking noticeably sharper than either his Denon Blu-ray player or his Oppo Ultra HD Blu-ray player? Something is either wrong with the other two, or something is wrong with the Pioneer.
Well, not wrong. It's just...
Well, there's a setting in there that's doing something. Yeah. That's doing something that is not the other two are not doing, or vice versa. So this is... Okay. If you have a transport, we're talking about transports here. If you have three different transports and two of them look almost exactly the same, if not exactly the same, and one of them looks different, either the one that looks different has a setting that is affecting the image, or the other two are doing something to the image that's affecting the image, but it's both the same thing that they're doing. So what's more likely? It's more likely the one is the one that's doing it because the other two look the same. What was the chances the other two look the same?
Plus, we know that Oppo, and we know that unless you changed some of its settings, it essentially acts as a transport. But this isn't one where I'm going to be like, oh, Gary was imagining it or something like that. No. It's entirely possible for a Blu-ray player to manipulate the image. This is not a transport. It is a player. And your Oppo, for example, I'm assuming the Denon too, but I'm not familiar enough with its menu and settings, but I know that the Oppo, you can change things like it has its own sharpness setting. It definitely has its own contrast and brightness settings. So there is something like that present in the Pioneer. I have no doubt about it. It might even have something like contrast enhancement, which is the thing that typically at first blush makes us go, oh, hey, that looks sharper. Because what it does is it makes the definition in the border between, like, you're looking at this woman's hairline, right? And it's going to be like, oh, I see a clearer differentiation between her skin and her hairline or something like that. But that is almost always due to like a contrast enhancement. It could just be a basic sharpness control too, though, because that can add some edge enhancement to things, which at first blush we interpret as, hey, that looks sharper. Normally, if you watch it long enough and carefully enough, you'll see some little artifacts when something like that is done, which is why we always say, hey, we don't like using those things. But yeah, it definitely could be the case that there's a sharpness control, an edge enhancement control, a dynamic contrast control, some manipulation of white level or black level. Like any of those things could be responsible for the image looking that way.
I wasn't ready for you to be done. Mark. Both of Mark's daughters are gamers, and they play late at night. They wear headsets so the actual game sounds cannot be heard, but they are on chat in their games, and they don't always realize how loud they can get. If Mark is downstairs, he can clearly hear them. The living room has a loft area, and one of his daughter's bedrooms is directly on the other side of the loft's wall. It seems to be a really thin wall, if you will.
That was his own description. He's like, it's a thin wall.
He personally wants his daughters to have as much fun as possible and to be as loud as they want, but sometimes he's had to ask if they can keep it down a bit. One thing they've tried is stuffing a blanket to block the gap under the bedroom door, but that doesn't seem to have solved the problem at all. To his mind, the problem has to either be the bedroom door or the thin wall between the bedroom and the living room loft. The bedroom on the other side has 2 walls that are exterior walls, and then the 4th wall has a closet and a cavity for the HVAC ducts in it. So he's only thought about making changes to the door and the one shared wall. The house was built in the 80s. He's guessing the insulation within the walls might have sagged and compressed in that time. The interior walls generally don't have insulation.
Probably not. That's the more likely thing, is that the interior wall doesn't have any insulation at all.
Never did. And it's sagging, so that won't be a problem. So do we think it could be as simple as opening up that one shared wall and putting new insulation inside of it? Well, it wouldn't be new. It'd be the first time it's ever experienced it. So
and regardless, I'm going to flatly say no to that. That is not going to solve this problem, I'm afraid.
And he's heard of mass-loaded vinyl. Is there anything like that could be added to the bedroom door to block the sound? And he's heard us say, well, you could, but then you could also trap them in there if there was a fire.
And also, I still don't think that's going to solve this problem. I don't think the way it's been described.
Yeah. And he's heard us say many times how acoustic panels don't keep the sound just inside the room where the sound is being made, but could putting panels up in his daughter's bedroom do anything to lower the volume elsewhere in the house? It's really only the voices, although he wouldn't want their bedrooms to end up like a padded cells either. What do we think his options are in this situation? So there's lots of things that can transport sound, but think of it less of, in the first thing you did with the underneath the door blocking that was like a good thought, because that's like, to me, that's where a lot of sound can come out.
Yeah, there's like a you visible need to think of gap somewhere. Yes. So hey, block the gap, see what that does.
It's holes. You're looking for holes more than anything, right? That's what you're looking for. So where's the biggest hole in your kids' bedrooms? And one of them is the air returns or the air ducts.
Yeah, I mean, he said there's a HVAC like cavity in that wall right there that surely connects to a trunk that is shared with the rest of the house.
And that's where I would expect most of this sound is coming
certainly from. A likely culprit. Yep.
Yeah.
I have serious doubts.
The thin wall is not it.
Yeah, I have serious doubts that it's the wall. Not that you can't necessarily hear voices coming through a very basic construction, nothing but a 2x4 and 1/2-inch drywall on the other side. It is absolutely possible to have voices go through that. But he's like, I can clearly hear everything she's saying. I'm like, I don't think it's just coming through the wall. There's a hole somewhere.
The thing to remember about sound is that the reason why acoustic panels work is because it forces the sound to change mediums. Yeah. I mean, yes, some of that energy is expended by the material it's going through, but it's changing mediums. So it goes from a gas to a solid, then back to a gas again, and it does this over and over again. And then, of course, it vibrates the solid. In this case, it's the insulation, which creates a little bit of heat, which reduces the energy within the sound wave that is passing through it. But anything that allows you to that forces the sound to go through a new medium, it will reduce the energy of that sound wave. So if even like Rob said, even if it's nothing but like stick framing and the thinnest drywall you can think of, it still has to pass through the solid of the drywall, and then not including the framing, it goes back into a gas, which is the air in between the two layers of drywall, and then into the drywall again, and then back into the air on the other side. That's the maximum. At minimum, it's going through the solid of through the air to the solid of the drywall, which vibrates the framing, which vibrates the drywall on the other side, and then it comes back out on the air side. So it's going through basically solid air. It's still changing, twice basically as it's coming through. You are going to lose enough sound energy in that transfer, even if they're screaming. that you're not going to be able to make out every single word.
Right.
Especially if they're
like if that were
a
the
normal volume.
only path through which
Yes.
the sound were being transmitted. There could be a contribution, right? Some of the sound you're hearing could be coming right through that wall.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
but what it's really doing is going through air to your ears.
Yeah.
So one of the ways you identified that was underneath the door, which you blocked and said, this is not helping.
It didn't do
so
anything.
There's another way.
So, there's some other way. And
there's something else.
Yeah, I mean, the bad news is, if you just put some regular acoustic panels, like in this case, you're saying, hey, this is vocal, so they would not need to be bass trap like 6 or 8 inches thick. 2 or 4 inches thick can have an effect on vocals in terms of reverberation inside of the room, in terms of echoes inside of the room. And if they've got a bedroom where there's nothing else in this bedroom, I'm assuming besides a bed and a desk or something like that, like there could be some reverberation in this room. I don't want to say that putting up panels literally would not quiet vocals at all, because that wouldn't be completely truthful, but they absolutely will not be a solution to this problem. It might be ever so slightly quieter. I want to be accurate and truthful in the statement, but what you're asking for, acoustic panels are 100% not the solution to what you're asking for. So first thing I want you to do is to, at the very least, visit soundproofingcompany.com. You can read their very well-written articles that they have about soundproofing if all you want to do is read. But more than that, I want you to contact them because it is free. They do consultation free. And more than anything Tom and I can say on this, much of what I would say on this subject would just be repeating things I've learned from soundproofingcompany.com.
Sure.
And because they're willing to do it for free, and because as the name of their site implies, this is all they do is soundproofing, they're going to be a fantastic resource for you to, at least if nothing else, get a better understanding of what you might be in for if you really want to stop hearing voices late at night that are coming from upstairs while you're down in the living room. So it's like, I'm not going to be able to point you to anything that is not going to be a potentially expensive solution here, because really this is going to require some kind of construction that goes on here. It's not going to be as simple as opening up that one shared wall and putting some bats of insulation inside. My
that's
guess
not
is
cheap either.
Not cheap and
that's
not trivial.
Cheap either.
It's a loft space too, so how accessible is that? It might require some very tall ladders to get to that wall or something along those lines. But even if it isn't, it's not completely inexpensive. It is a disruption to the house at all. And I would bet dollars to donuts you do all that and the sound level drops, if at all, only a tiny bit. I think it would be similar to putting acoustic panels in their room. I think it might drop a teeny tiny little bit, but it won't be a solution. Yeah. The obvious culprit, because you mentioned that there's an HVAC cavity in the fourth wall there, I'm betting that yes, there is a air return or at least an air vent that is putting air into that room. You've got an outright hole with a metal resonant tube that carries sound to the rest of the house, and that is the most likely culprit. But what Soundproofing Company will educate you on is they call them flanking paths, which are essentially, like Tom just said, holes. Flanking paths are holes. There's somewhere where the air can freely move and escape from one room into another, and that's what causes unwanted sound transmission. You are making the distinction, the correct distinction, that vocals should be a little bit easier to contain and isolate than deep bass, because deep bass tends to physically vibrate the room where the bass is being created. And now you have structure-borne sound transmission, which 100% requires construction to address. And thankfully, that isn't what you're dealing with. Their game sounds are inside their headphones. It's really just their voices you're hearing. So it's not deep bass, but you do have to block the air from being able to move from one room to another. And yeah, if it's not the gap under the door, it's almost certainly not the shared wall. The HVAC is the likely culprit, but it could be other things, right? You said these are upstairs rooms. The entire attic might be an open shared space above the entirety of the house. So if sound can get up from the bedroom into the attic, it can now propagate to the entire rest of the house that is shared, and that can be pretty simple. It can be, it's a little bit unlikely, but one thing when we're building home theaters that people often don't think about is your electrical outlets or your Ethernet outlets, or like anywhere there's a wall outlet, that's a hole in your wall and it is not blocked. You almost need to, I mean, not almost, you need to think of making the room where the sound is being created airtight. And we often say, picture it watertight. If you filled this room up with water, where would the water come out? And that's what you need to block. But of course, then we have to be cognizant of, well, air does need to be able to circulate in and out of a room where someone is gaming. They want to be able to breathe without fainting at some point from lack of fresh air getting in there. So this can be a very non-trivial thing. If the HVAC is the actual culprit, and you're going to have to go through some testing and troubleshooting, that soundproofing company can do an excellent job of walking you through step by step. But if it does turn out to be that, it's like, yeah, that's going to be some construction. There's no way around it. You might have to put vent mufflers, or at the very least decouple some of the HVAC venting so that you don't have a constant physical connection from one room to another where the sound can freely travel. I did want to mention, because, he was asking about acoustic panels, is there anything that could be purchased that might help? And I don't want to be remiss and not mention it, but I'm going to warn you right now, I don't think this is a great solution. But over at Gick Acoustics, they do have, how come I didn't get that up there? Let's do that. There it is. Sorry, that's for the YouTube folks. They have their professional vocal booths. These are freestanding, and they are hinged so that you can take them apart and transport them relatively easily, and then you can stand them up without anything besides themselves, and you can set these up anywhere and take them back down. And what's critical here is that they are a full booth where they have a ceiling on top, because you're going to find other freestanding things that are for vocal recordings, but they're really just to be in front of the microphone to catch that, reflection of the voice that would normally go off the wall and come right back to the mic. That's really all the freestanding, they'll sometimes call them a portable vocal booth, but it's not really a booth. It's just an absorption stand. And those, like absorption panels in the room, would do very little. But this booth can actually be an enclosure, especially if you buy two of them. You can make yourself a little 4 foot by 4 foot enclosure, but you can't be in it for any length of time. This is for like quickly laying down some narration, right? You're on a low budget production. You can't set up a full recording studio, but you can get some of these pro vocal booths, maybe, just one plus a wall or two of them, and you can put someone in there and they can do their on-site, vocal narration, but you can't be in there for, I would say, more than 20 minutes because you're going to get so hot. There's no air circulation going on. But what you're doing is creating a little portable room within a room. That's what you need to do. You can seal somebody in there. It's all lined with insulation. They've got these patterns on the outside because you can use them as freestanding things as well. But it's not realistically a solution for this. But I just wanted to mention, sometimes people have that in mind, right? Like, is there anything you can do that could isolate someone's voice that isn't actual construction to the house? So such a thing does exist. They go for around $1,000 each, but it would be so cramped inside and it would be so hot so quickly. I'm guessing if they're gaming late at night that they're not doing a 20-minute session and calling it quits. Almost, I'm picturing that this goes on for several hours perhaps. So yeah, that's where we are with that.
Several hours is usually probably, I would guess that would be a short session.
It could be.
Nathan. Last week, Chad asked us for recommendations for an Easy Transport 2.0 speaker system since he has to frequently move, but TV speakers just can't cut it for him. Given that the price point wasn't much of a concern for Chad, we said, Rob more so than me, that a small OLED TV would be a good lighter weight choice for the display, and we were both in favor of getting a pair of self-powered speakers. But Nathan was a little bit surprised. Why didn't we suggest a great pair of headphones? And then he got him thinking, why does Chad need an actual TV? He could get a VR headset. Nathan thought of the Apple Vision Pro, but since it has some of the very best displays that are out there, but there are much less expensive headsets, well, not much, but there are less expensive headsets that still look excellent if the Vision Pro costs too much.
Oh, they're definitely considerably. The Vision Pro is $3,500 dues, so you can get some pretty decent VR headsets that are nowhere near that price.
Yeah. So a headset and headphones could potentially cost less, but look and sound better. And they'd obviously be smaller and very easy to transport. What do we think? Well, generally speaking, when somebody asks me a question, I'd like to answer the question. And while I don't mind giving them options that are different than what they asked for, it doesn't always occur to me to think that far outside the box. I'm not saying that you're not right.
I mean, headphones just because you've often brought up the suggestion of, hey, instead of a soundbar, why don't you invest in a good pair of headphones? So that's not out of left field or anything like that.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah. I just... it didn't occur to me in this case. Sure. It didn't really sound like that's what he wanted.
I mean, it isn't what he asked for directly. He specifically asked for a 2.0. Like, he didn't want a soundbar. He's like, I want a 2.0 set of speakers. He was thinking, this is Chad we're talking about from last week, he was thinking of actually like a pair of passive speakers plus some kind of small AV receiver-like device to power them. We thought as far as going, hey, there are just self-powered speakers. If what you want is 2.0, I'd probably get a pair of self-powered speakers, and then you don't have to have a separate device to power the speakers whatsoever. But yeah, main thing I was thinking of is like, yeah, he was specifically asking for a TV and a 2.0 set of speakers. Maybe Chad isn't watching all by himself. Because if you're talking VR headset and headphones, that is a one-man viewing party that's going on there. There is no sharing that experience with anyone else. Now, headphones, certainly, I'm assuming there are going to be times when Chad is watching alone. And I agree, a good set of headphones absolutely makes sense as a very portable and can be excellent sounding for not a gigantic sum of money. But yeah, if Chad is like, no, I often have at least one other person watching with me, then speakers make more sense. You can, fairly easily have two pairs of headphones going on these days, but more than that, if it's a group type of thing. And then, yeah, the viewing for sure, TVs are much more usable for more than one person than a VR headset. So, but look, I like Nathan's idea. That's a perfectly reasonable thing, especially the headphone idea. We probably should have mentioned that, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, I'm sort of surmising that maybe Chad is not watching and listening completely by himself at all times. I gotta say though, even if he is, like, hey, I'm the guy who's bought multiple VR headsets over here.
I don't want to spend more than like 20, 30 minutes in a headset. They get so sweaty. Yeah. They get gross.
It's not my favorite experience. I am still genuinely disappointed and a bit irritated that Sony has never updated the PlayStation VR 2 to support 3D Blu-ray playback from the PlayStation 5 console. Yeah. Because I'm like, come on. Like, we can't get 3D TVs anymore. You have a console with, at least optionally, a Blu-ray drive built into it. You have what is a really, really effective 3D display. And it's like, that's got to be a software patch where I could just play a 3D Blu-ray on my PlayStation 5 console and use my PSVR 2 headset to watch the darn thing. I'm very irritated that isn't an option. But I, as the bigger VR headset fan between Tom and myself, I don't think I would suggest to most other people that they make their primary viewing experience a VR headset. It's just...
I don't want to watch a whole movie in
it's just not super VR comfy.
Headset, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Rohan's wife has given her approval for a new AV receiver purchase, so the Marantz SR6015 that has given him nothing but problems and anxiety for the past 2 years will be gone. And following a discussion about his potential options last week, his only Helios, so this is his response to that, his only Helios device was the Marantz receiver. He doesn't have a whole house audio setup and no other Helios devices in his house, so switching to a different wireless audio system is no problem. He also doesn't mind spending some time to learn a new room correction system.
There you go. I mean, those were multiple things that, I didn't know if it was the case or not, so I was hedging some bets as when it came to the recommendations we were giving on which AV receiver he should specifically look at being the upgrade to his Marantz, but now we know the situation.
Yeah. So with those concerns out of the way, he's pretty much decided to go with the Onkyo TX RZ30, which is good because it's very, very inexpensive. So that means using Dirac Live Room Correction. He's already searched YouTube for tutorials and found two of the most detailed videos to be the ones from Audio Advice and from Sound United with Phil Jones. Even though they weren't specifically for the RZ30 or Onkyo in general, they seem very informative, and he's reasonably sure he'll be able to run Dirac now. But are there any other particular videos or articles that we think you should look at beforehand? Well, you can look at, I hate to say it, you can look at AV Gadgets and read Andrew's article about when he switched to Dirac from Odyssey and how he felt about it. So
yes, you'll see that he titled it, I switched from Odyssey to Dirac and I wish I hadn't. Now, look, that is a mildly clickbaity title that he put on that article because...
Mildly.
Yes, when you read it, you'll actually notice that his conclusion was, it's really 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Like, whatever results I want to get to, I could have gotten there with Odyssey, and I can get there with Dirac. There's a difference in the procedure, but that the end results are very similar. So it's not that he's wishing he hadn't because Dirac delivers inferior or bad results. That is not the thing. He's just like, I already knew Odyssey, and he found the process easier. So he's like, so I wish I hadn't because it didn't actually make things better. It made it just as good, but didn't make it better. And therefore, what was really the purpose of spending the money and the time to make the switch. So I'll just put your mind at ease that the slightly mildly clickbaity headline is not really something to be concerned of there. But you already found probably the two that I would have pointed you to if you hadn't already found them yourself. The one from Audio Advice, the very thorough one that Phil Jones did for Sound United, because they were really excited getting Dirac on board. They still have Odyssey, but Dirac is an option on Den and Marantz, and so they put together a very lengthy, very nuanced, very detailed one. Now, running Dirac on every various brand that supports them can be a little bit different from brand to brand. It is not a universal, exactly the same procedure on all of them. So for that reason, given that you've already watched those tutorials, which have definitely given you a very good overview of what you're in for, I'm guessing you would have found it yourself anyway if you're doing searches like this, but Onkyo themselves have a specific article for Dirac Live on the RZ30. Like, it really is just the instructions, but they've separated it out. It's not part of the regular user manual. So I'll just have the link to that, because for the little peculiarities, if there are any, in terms of, exactly when to plug the microphone in and do that bit of the calibration process, Onkyo is essentially designed if you're using the mic that came with it, because you can, in their case, you can use the microphone that came with the Onkyo, but to do that, you have to use the app, the Dirac version that runs on their smartphone app. You have the option of, with the very same Dirac license that comes with the RZ30, you can go to your PC and you can get the PC software version of Dirac, and you can plug a USB microphone into your PC and it'll still work with the very same license. So you are not limited to having to use the app and the included microphone, but if you use the included microphone, it's designed to work with the app. So the article that Onkyo has there goes through that. And then if you want to see another article on it just to like reconfirm and go through some other things, maybe they'll bring up a point or two that wasn't in the other ones. Crutchfield has an article on Dirac Live. This is like for beginners, so you've probably covered all this already, but it doesn't hurt to go through it once more. But I don't really have any other video, like there are several other video tutorials, but there's not ones I would specifically point you to that I'm like, oh, this is something so much better, because I think you already found the two most detailed ones on your own.
All right. Kevin, this is the last question. Kevin.
It is.
Kevin's in-laws just bought a new house. They're going to have a lot of TVs, and Kevin is going to be doing all the TV setup and support for them, so he's looking to make his own life a little bit easier on that front. The primary consideration is that they use Spectrum cable, and there's a Spectrum app available. So it isn't necessary to have a separate box connected to each TV, and he's really hoping they can just use built-in apps on all their TVs, since plugging in something like an Apple TV 4K to each and every TV only increases cost and complexity. But they looked it up, and the Spectrum app is not available for Google TV or Android TV, so that basically eliminates Sony, TCL, and Hisense as options, since they all use Google TVs these days. Roku has the Spectrum app available, and so do Samsung and LG TVs. So Kevin is thinking he would like to get all the TVs from the same brand. That will hopefully provide a consistent experience for his in-laws.
Yeah, it's not a safe assumption.
And I don't know about that. And it should make things as simple as possible for him as their tech support, right? There's going to be one main TV at least 75 inches in size, and Kevin's father-in-law is willing to spend good money on that one, upwards of $3,000. But all of the other TVs will either be 55 or 65 inches, and the price for each of those will need to be a lot lower. So what brand do we think he should go with? He wants both the high-end main TV and all of the lower to mid-range TVs to still look good and work nicely. And he wants them to be consistent, easy to use. So what do we suggest? First of all, I would suggest that you contact Spectrum and make sure that you are not making a bunch of assumptions that are not correct.
True.
So
yes.
My parents have Spectrum, and Spectrum sends them a box.
Sure.
And it's called something stupid. I can't remember. Zoomy or Zoomai or something like that. I just had to set one up for my dad this weekend because they sent him a new one. And he's like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, yeah, plug it in and follow the instruction. Well, I figured you'd be better at it. Better at telling it to English? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. So, yes. So they sent them a box for their TV. Yeah. So if that's the case with Spectrum where you are, it's not going to make any difference which TV you buy because they're all going to be using the same. They're all going to have this streaming box, which is essentially exactly like a Roku or a Apple TV 4K. It's just their box.
It's not necessarily the case, though. Like, I don't know this to be the case or not with Spectrum because I'm just not familiar with them. But like with my TV service provider, I subscribe to a cable package still. They do have the little box that is theirs that they include as part of my cable subscription, and that sits below my TV. But then on my phone, and interestingly in my case, Amazon Fire devices, but virtually no other streaming device, I can get their app. So it sounds like a similar situation, right? He's saying there's a Spectrum cable app. Yeah. It doesn't run on everything. It doesn't run on Google TV, but it runs on apparently Roku and hopefully, from the information that he found, Samsung's Tizen and LG's WebOS. But yeah, it sounds like a similar situation. So I don't have to have a physical box that came from my cable company for each of my TVs. If I have an Amazon Fire TV device plugged into them, I can run their app, or I can use their app on my smartphone, and then I can cast from my smartphone, or I can AirPlay too from my smartphone, to any TV that supports that. So to me, that sounds like the likely similar scenario where there's the app version that they have, and as long as it works with the operating system that you're using, you don't have to have an actual cable box from the Spectrum cable company.
I think that this, if your in-laws or anything like my parents, which I can't, I'm not saying that they are, they might be completely different. Not giving them a remote to use is going to be a problem. Having them have to go to an app on their phone to control it is going to be
if it's
a
on
problem.
the phone. But that's why he's saying he wants one that will be built into the TV, so they just have to pick up the TV remote, nothing else. They don't have to learn any other remote. It'll be the same TV remote because they'll have the same brand of TV in every room of this house, and the interface will hopefully just be the TV's built-in interface, which will hopefully be the same across all of the TVs that they buy and install.
It
is a lot of hoping, yes.
I would rather buy a bunch of boxes that all have the same interface, guaranteed.
And it doesn't have to, if you're saying Roku works for sure, then there are some very inexpensive little Roku dongles that you could plug one of those into each TV, and if all the TV needs to be able to do is turn on and change the volume, and the only source device they're ever going to use is the Roku that's plugged into them, then I'm not the least bit worried about buying a TV that Roku is the built-in operating system, because you can definitely get Roku dongles for every TV in the house for a very small amount of money. That said, I'm not the biggest fan of Roku anymore. All they've done is add more and more and more ads to that interface and get slower and clunkier.
Making it less usable so that they can make money on it?
They sure have.
Where have I heard that before? Where did they get that idea?
So I definitely want to reiterate a piece of fantastic advice that we heard from Joe Klusnick, which is not something I had never thought of before, but for some reason I had never spoken much before on the podcast, and he said it out loud, which is, what TV do you have, Kevin? Because if you have either a Samsung or an LG, get them Samsung or LG, because then you can more easily remotely help them if they have problems, because you'll be looking at the same interface at home as what they have. Get them the same TV that you have. But that doesn't help if Kevin has nothing but Sony's at home, right? Because they're all running Google TV. So, but it's just something to be aware of. It's like, oh yeah, Kevin is like, I have an LG OLED. I'd be looking at getting them LG TVs. I think that is definitely something to consider. For the high-end TV, I don't think there's going to be any problem which one you get. You know, all the brands out there now have fantastic TVs at the high end, 75 or 77 inches. So really, to me, if this is a case where, yeah, Kevin only has Sony's, that's not really going to be an option here. Again, you could plug a Roku into any Sony and you could get a Roku yourself so that you can look at the very same interface as what they're looking at. I wouldn't put that out there, but I agree. I feel like I'd rather Roku be my last, choice of last resort. I'd be on board with you there. I would lean towards, if this is a clean slate type of thing, probably Samsung. Simply because if I go to the less expensive LGs, like the non-OLED LGs, to be honest, any non-OLED LG, I don't love them. The picture quality is noticeably worse than like everybody else's TVs out there for their non-OLEDs. I love the LG OLEDs. If getting an LG OLED for every room in this house, because let's keep in mind, you can still get the B4 OLEDs, right? And it's like, for some reason, people on the YouTubes and the forums like dismiss because it's the least expensive, lowest, and I'm like, B4 OLEDs from LG look fantastic. And the prices have come down so far, and it's like, if it's a 55 or a 48 inch, like they can be surprisingly affordable.
Right.
So to me, the notion of an LG OLED in every room of this house is not out of the question. It's not going to be a G5 in every room. I will grant you that. But there's nothing wrong with putting B series OLEDs in other rooms of this house. But if that is too expensive, I mean, I don't know honestly what you're even getting at that point. But yeah, I mean, Samsung would be the way I would go there, because if I'm going to get like as inexpensive as possible, Samsung has some pretty good choices, right? Like I don't know what the number it was D8000 last year, so I think it's the D9000 this year, or will be coming up. But like that D series that they have, not super impressive, but for an inexpensive TV, LCD TV at a huge variety of screen sizes, I'm like, that's a decent looking TV. I don't have a problem watching that TV. Whereas I look at a lot of the low priced LGs and I'm like, ugh, I really don't like that image. I will also say, Samsung's Tizen interface is simple to use because it is one strip along the bottom.
That's what this box my parents have too. Is one strip. That being said, my father was like, "Well, it doesn't have live TV on it." I'm like, "Just scroll to the right." He goes, "I can't find it." I'm like,
there's that.
Just keep scrolling. It's there.
Like the Tizen interface is a lot of scrolling for sure.
Yeah.
But it is as long as your in-laws are okay with scrolling one strip, because like I will say that
once
LG,
they get into something, it usually moves it to the left side, so that it's easier for them to get back into it. But
it is also the thing where with the Samsung interface, if you press and hold the OK button longer than you needed to just activate, then all of a sudden you are willy-nilly moving that icon around in that strip, and maybe that's not what you wanted to do. And yeah, that can throw people for a loop. But I got to say, like the LG WebOS interface, it's gotten a little busy in the past little while. It's kind of looking a lot like an Amazon Fire TV interface, if I'm being honest, and I don't super duper love it. So all things considered, yeah, if this is clean slate, I'd probably lean towards Samsung as a whole. I agree with Tom. Definitely confirm with Spectrum beforehand that it's actually the case. Keep in mind, you always have the option of adding inexpensive Rokus to everything, every single TV. And if you are already a Samsung owner yourself, I would definitely go with that. Yeah, I think that ended that.
Okay. All right. So that was our last question for this week.
And we're fine. We're very close to 2 hours. So
yeah, that works out.
It works out.
I want to thank our listeners of the week. We want to thank all of the people in the past. I think the last one was Dan, who went to avrant.com and clicked on the Buy Us a Cup of Coffee link and sent us a PayPal donation, as well as our 124 patrons over at patreon.com.
That is right. Yeah, if you want to make that one-time donation, come to the website, avrant.com. Right-hand side, you can click on Support the Podcast, only on the desktop version. You got to make that little switch on your phone because you won't see the donate button if you're on the mobile version of our website. But yeah, if you want to make an automatic monthly donation, come to patreon.com/AVRant podcast, and you can sign up to do that. Big thanks to our 124 patrons over there right now.
I want to thank Infinite Gary and I think Julian. Is that right? Do we know?
I never looked it up during the whole thing here.
Well,
I'm scared.
For sending in some movie codes for us to test out. Thanks a lot.
I'm scared of computer glitches opening another tab. So Infinite Gary for sure we can thank for the movie codes. Yes.
Yes, for sure. I was trying to look it up, but now I'm on the back end of AVRant, and I
That'll
can't get out. And there's some people sent some notes in thanking us for keeping the podcast going. From Bret, Infinite Gary, Mark, Rohan, Kevin, and Jorge. Thank you for thanking us.
That's right. I'll say the names once more. We got Bret, Infinite Gary, Mark, Rohan, Kevin, and Jorge. Thank you so much for those notes of gratitude and encouragement. We really appreciate them. Big thank you to everybody who continues to listen and send in your questions.
It was Julian. Julian and Ren were last week, so I think it was Julian, the one that keeps sending stuff in. If you want to get your question answered, all you have to do is ask by emailing us at question@avrant.com. For AVRant, I'm Tom Antry.
And I'm Rob H. Now go out and listen to something.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.